I thought what I would do today is go ahead and explain in a little more detail the Mobile Cabinet Company example that we started in class today but didn't have a chance to finish. This way you will have it to look at and figure out whether or not you can understand this particular type of linear program. So here we have the company that's making two different types of cabinets, mobile home cabinets and motor home cabinets. We see that we're doing it for the summer quarter, July, August, September. We have demand for both of them in this table right here. And then we also see that we have the cost associated with each. July is $14, $16 an hour for man hours for August, and then $18 for September. And we see that we can do that. That's regular time, an additional 50% at an overtime cost of 1.5 times. And then material costs have to come in there as well. And then we also have where how much we have starting. So we start with the stock of 25 motorhome cabinets and 20 mobile homes. And then we will also look at how much needs to be left over at the end. And then if we bring this down a little bit, we see that they can store 300 each time, and there's the cost for storing. So we left off in trying to come up with variables. I think we had finally decided that we needed about 18 different variables. And the way we came up with that we needed, I'm going to put them in different categories. So we needed regular production variables, for each. So we need regular production variables for each month and each product. We have 2 products and we have 3 months. So that's a total of 6 different variables there. Right? That'll be 6 variables. Then we have overtime available to us. Overtime production variables for each month and product. So again, there will be 6 there. And then what we also need are the storage variables. For each product and at the end of each month is the easiest way to do this. So that'll give us another 6. So it gives us 18 variables total. So a bit more than what we've seen. So obviously we're going to want to use software to solve this guy. So now let's see if we can actually add in and start to come up with what these variables should look like. So let's see. I'm going to say let, and let's do x JR. Those are subscripts. The J stands for July. The R stands for regular time. And I'm going to use X for the motorhomes. So number of motor home cabinets built in July using regular production time or regular man hours. So then you should understand that we're going to have XAR, and that would be the number of motorhome cabinets. I really don't like either one of the styluses that I have with me right now. Built in August using regular time, regular labor hours. And so then for motorhomes for September would be the similar XSR. So again, the first subscript is the letter of the month that we're looking at, July, August, and September. The second subscript is what we're using it for, so that's the regular. So number of motor home cabinets built in September using regular labor. So then we could also build motorhome cabinets in July using overtime. Right? So we could do XJO. So number of motorhome cabinets in July using overtime. So then what do you think the other ones would be for overtime? XAO and XSO. Right? And this would be August. And this would be September. So that gives us 6 variables for the motorhome cabinets. We now need to go ahead and add in the mobile home cabinets. So here I'm going to use Y. And again I'm going to have JR, Y, AR, Y, SR, and then Y, JO, Y, AO, and Y, SO. So this is number of mobile cabinets built in July using regular time. This is August, and this is September. And then we have number of mobile cabinets built in July using overtime. And then we have August and September for mobile home cabinets using overtime. So there's another 6, that gives us 12. We still need to worry about the storage stuff. For right now, let me skip that for right now, and well, yeah, let's go ahead and do it. Why not? Skip it, but we'll come back to that. So for storage, I'm going to define S for storage. Don't get that confused with the subscript S for September. This is the variable. And then I'm going to subscript it with XJ. And that's the number of, remember X was our motorhome, so number of motorhome cabinets stored at the end of July. The end there is kind of important. We'll see why in a minute. The SYJ, number of mobile home cabinets stored at the end of July. Then we have SXA, SYA, and then SXS and SYS. This is number of motor stored at the end of August, and this is number of mobile at the end of August. And then we have for S sub XS, that's the number of motorhome cabinets stored at the end of September. And same thing here. This is mobile, and it's at the end of September. So there we have our final 6 variables. We could, of course, go ahead and do Z for our total cost if we wanted to. So 18 real variables, 1 additional extra helper. So now let's do the objective function. The objective function is the cost. There are a couple things that go into it. We're going to have the material cost, right, as well as the labor cost. And we're going to do that for total, add those together to get the total unit cost. Let's maybe do this. Let me make this a little bit cleaner. This is material. And then let me do the variable. So we had XJR. That was the number of motor home built in July using regular time. The material cost was $146. The labor was, we took 3 hours, and in July we could do it in 14 hours, or 14 bucks. So that's 42. So if we add those together, we get 188. So that's going to be the objective function coefficient for the variable XJR. We need to do the same thing for XO, XAR, XAO, all the way down. Right? So I'm just going to do a couple of these so you get the gist of it, to understand what we're doing. So XJO, again, it's the base of 146 for material. It's going to be still take 3 hours, but it's 1.5 times, so it's 14 times 1.5, so 21 bucks. All right, so that gives me 63 here. So that's a total of 209. For August, again, because we're still doing with the X's, it's 146 for the base. It's 16 bucks, so 3 times the 16, which is 48. And 146 plus 48 gives me 194. And here again, we have a base of 146. 3 times 16 times 1.5 is 24. 24 times 3 is 72. 72 plus 146 gives me 218. And we continue with all of those. Right? Those are for the just the production stuff. For the storage stuff, we had $6 for anything with the subscript X in the first part, and 9 for everything with the Y, because it was bigger space. So that was the SXJ. There's no material, there's no labor. It's really storage cost, right? So that was $6. And I'm saying anything with the X in front. Maybe I should write it like this. XSA. Really don't like the stylus the more I play with it. XS. That's all $6. For this other one, the SYJ, the S, wow, that's really bad. YA, comma, SYS, those are all $9. Right, so that gives us, everything's going to show up, all 18 variables are going to show up in the objective function, is what that means. So let's move on to doing the constraints. The first set takes on the general form of regular time used has to be less than or equal to regular time. Wow. I can't do cursive either, apparently. Regular time available. Available. Alright, so in we have July 1st. We have 3 hours for XJR plus 5 hours for Y sub JR, and we had a total of 2100 hours. So that's July regular time. Go back to my other styles maybe. For August, we had a total of 1500. And for September, we had 1200 hours. And again, it took 3 hours. It's XAR now, plus 5 Y sub AR. And then we have 3X SR plus 5 Y SR. So that's regular time is what we're dealing with that right there. Right? So we have 3 constraints. So now we need to have similar ones for overtime. Right? So the overtime ones, very similar. Make sure that we don't spend more overtime than what we have. So we have a total of half of what we had for each of them. So in July it would have been 1050 because we had 2100 July overtime. August we had 1500, so half of that is 750. August overtime. And in September we had 1200 total, so 600, and that should be September overtime. How do we make sure we don't go over it? Again, it's just because we're using overtime doesn't mean that it takes any more time, but we just have to have the right variables. So we have xjo plus 5yjo, 3xao for overtime plus 5yao, and then 3xso plus 5yso. And that takes care of the overtime. We're not done yet. We still need to actually talk about storage and production stuff, right? We had monthly demands for each thing. So in July we had a monthly demand of 250 motorhomes. So for this, what we need to worry about is it's going to take this general form, which I think is worth writing out. So we have beginning inventory, right, plus our monthly production, and that monthly production includes both regular time and overtime, and that's got to be equal to our shipping quota, so whatever we ship out, plus how much we store, plus the number stored. Right? So we need to do that for each month and for each product type. So let's go ahead and do July motorhomes. So the nice thing about July is we actually had some beginning inventory. We had 25 of them. So if you go back and look at the description, word description of the problem, we had 25 for beginning inventory. How much do I produce in July? Well, that's one of the things I'm trying to figure out, right? So I'm going to put parentheses around it just so that it's clear that this is the monthly production. It's how much I produce in July using regular time plus how much I produce, right, xjo, how much I produce in July using overtime. That needs to be equal to our demand. Our demand for July was 250. And then this is where, this is called the balancing part of the equations, where we're going to balance the equations, or the flow balance. So the amount that we store at the end of July, right? That's why I named it the end of July. Was SXJ. And then we would obviously have to rearrange terms to get all the variables on the left-hand side and the constants on the right-hand side, which we could easily do. So we need to do this for each of these. So this is July motorhomes. For August motorhomes, what's our beginning inventory? Well, it's whatever's left over at the end of July that we stored in July. So SXJ. Plus whatever we produce, XAR plus XAO in overtime. And the demand there was also 250. And then we might store stuff at the end. So SXA. And this is our August motorhome. And then finally for September for motorhomes, what we stored at the end of August is our beginning inventory. What we produced was XSR plus XSO. And the demand there was only 150. And we might need to store some at the end of that. In fact, we do want to do that, right? I think there's a constraint somewhere that says we want to have so many left over at the end. So this is September production for motor home cabinets. And then we can do the same thing for the mobile home cabinets. So if we look at what we said we needed to have at least at the end, starting for October. It was 10 for this, so S sub XS has got to be greater than or equal to 10. So that's our ending inventory, ending motor inventory. Again, that was a restriction that was spelled out in the problem. So we need to do the same thing for mobile homes. We started with 20 in July plus how many we're going to make. So we have Y JR plus YJO is equal to how much was demanded? Looks like 100 plus whatever we would store. So this is July mobile. Then we have beginning inventory for August. That's whatever's left over for July from above, plus our production in August, AR plus YAO is equal to our demand, which was 300, plus whatever we store over, YA, and that's our August mobile. And then we have SYA plus YSR plus YSO. And the demand in September was 400. Plus we might need to have some left over, which we do. And this is September mobile. And then the ending inventory was SYS is greater than or equal to, we needed 25 of those. And that's our ending mobile inventory. We just have one more set of constraints to do, which is the maximum storage limits for each month. Right, so in July and August and September, they can only be 300 things that we can store each time. So the amount that was stored for motorhomes, cabinets, plus the amount that was stored for mobile homes at the end of July has to be less than or equal to 300. We can't carry forward more than that. We do the same thing for August. And that's the same right hand side. So this is July limit. This is August limit. And then we do finally we have September. That looks like crap. That's less than or equal to 300. September limit. And then we should put non-negativity on everything, right, for all variables. Okay. So then what we can do is actually put this in Excel and solve it that way, because we certainly can't solve in 18 dimensions by hand, not easily at least. So see the next video in order to do that.